Hello, welcome to Lemon's Juice, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. I'm, of course, Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Bad Blood 2024. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way, shall we? I'm leave a like, comment below, let me know your thoughts on Bad Blood, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the review, shall we? So, Bad Blood, I think, overall was like one of the better builds to a B-level pay-per-view, or PLE. I think, 3 out of the 5 had very good builds, meaning Punk and Drew, obviously. Rhea and Liv, it is starting to lose its way a little bit. I am hoping they go their separate ways. The feud doesn't necessarily need to end. I don't think it is going to end. But I do think they not need to scrap with each other for a little bit until, this story can go into second gear. And then, of course, the tag team match that closed out the show. Now, if you watched my SmackDown review, I was like, look, Drew and Punk should close out the show, and I think it was really, really adamant throughout the whole entire night that Hell in a Cell should have been the main event, or at least the 4th match, because everything afterwards, because I do make the argument that every match was good on this show. It was just after you see that fight of between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, any other punch, any other move that we saw past that was relatively tame, right? So, it just wasn't as, it just didn't pack that much of a bigger punch. Where, some of the cells and all this stuff, it's like, okay, you can get up because, these guys just gave each other a freaking bloodbath. So, this little power bomb that you're doing on the apron, not even on the apron, on the outside, on the cement, I'm just like, ain't none. After what we saw. So I think, look, you watched my SmackDown review. I think Drew and Punk should have main evented. But if The Rock was to show up, no matter what Punk and Drew would have done, The Rock overshadows the event. In a way, he kind of did. A lot of ways, everything that happened after the show, when the final bell rung, is more interesting than everything else that happened within the show, minus Drew and Punk. Because when you went online, the only things that we saw were The Rock's Instagram Live, which was very funny. I really love how he was going through the trucks and he was roasting everyone. And then he gets to Dustin and he goes, "I love you, but I hate your son." It was so funny. I'm so glad. I hope we get more of these. I don't need him to be on Raw and SmackDown until we get, to January when Raw is on Netflix. But man, I really do hope we get these gym promos again because I did miss him. God, did I miss him when so the show ended and he was on live and he was just going off. It was just so funny to me. He is truly electrifying. He is truly electrifying. And then Kevin Owens turning heel. I honestly kind of hope, because Kevin Owens is kind of like the Deadpool of WWE, right? And he turned heel. He finally snapped because Rhodey I guess that's what we can call them, Roman and Cody. Rhodey really made up, right? They had the whole handshake, Roman handing Cody the title, they get along just fine. And it was up to Jimmy. It was good to see Jimmy again going to, hey, you're the OTC. You got to take care of this business. And Roman's like, you know what? You're right. This is not just a one-time thing. And now it is treated like Batman and Superman teaming up. And Cody and Kevin having that altercation. I thought we would do this match at Crown Jewel, where Kevin Owens does have that killer instinct, and the match would be much more interesting going into that build. But no, it looks like we're just going to be really beefing up these TV shows, especially now with them being 2 hours. I'm really happy about that. Now, we're going to get, because, it's like a really bad criticism to have, because you're like, oh man, now I'm going to have great matches on my free weekly television shows. But also I'm just like, hey, there's some money in this. But I do not know how, PLE residuals go within WWE now, because now that they're on premium live events, it's not about pay-per-view buys. It's just, subscriber rates. And it's no longer on the WWE network. So, how much of the profits that they get. So now it's probably like, okay, let's put all of our eggs in baskets into Raw and SmackDown, really beef up those shows. And the PLEs are like just extended episodes. It's kind of how is what it feels like this shifting to. I still think the builds to the PLEs are really good. Like I said, 3 out of the 5 have really good builds for Bad Blood. But it is really interesting how now when we get to the PLE, which is probably what it should be, right? It's like, okay, the PLE is to get you to watch Raw. The PLE is to get you to watch SmackDown and see how it's going to go progress through. So I don't really know where I was going with that, but I just found it really interesting because it really felt like back then, and hell, even when Triple H was first taking over, it was like these PLEs were like big send-off end angles, and then we just turn into Raw and SmackDown to see what the next chapters are, to see where everyone's going to move out to. Now the PLEs and the weekly shows really go hand in hand with each other. But yeah, let's go into the actual show itself. But overall, I think it was fine, and I just think it was a show that really suffered from the order of the match card. Like I said, if the Hell in a Cell doesn't open, I think the other matches are perceived much better, especially with how slow the main event was. But we'll go down, break it down one by one. Hell in a Cell match kicking it off, best match of the night. It was an absolute war. It looked like Drew busted open the hard way after seeing what happened on Twitter. That he was like, no, he was actually busted open. He had to receive 14 staples. But besides that, he's pretty good. Very good storytelling. Like everyone else in the building, I thought when Drew pulled out the bag, I was like, yes, we're getting thumbtacks. We're going full on back. This is real Hell in a Cell. And I mean, it was already felt like a real Hell in a Cell match, which we haven't had in a long time. Like, I honestly think maybe the last real Hell in a Cell match that I saw, like live, was probably the end of an era match between Triple H and The Undertaker. And even then, it's maybe Edge versus Undertaker at SummerSlam in 2008, when it really felt like, yeah, this is truly Hell in a Cell. But those are the last two matches that really come to my mind, where I really felt like it was like true Hell in a Cell. But this one really delivered that as well. There was blood, all of the gore mats. But yeah, when he pulled out the bag, I was like, yeah, I'll finally get the thumbtacks. And no, it was just the beads, which was perfect for the storytelling that it was. But man, boy, did I want those thumbtacks, and so did the crowd as well. The only gripe that I have, which I do not know how barbaric this makes me, but I know the fans were pretty barbaric too, was that there was blood all over them. It's a good visual. Don't wipe the blood off. Let them be bloody. But, hey, it's probably for safety measures. But yeah, best match of the night for sure. Punk wins. I guess the writing was true, or the dirt sheets are going with Punk versus Gunther at Survivor Series. I don't know anymore, because with what happened with Goldberg, which was, technically the sixth match, but we'll get more into that later. But yeah, definitely the best match of the night. Punk wins. I assume they're both off the whole entire way through Crown Jewel. Give them October off to really sell the structure, like look, both of these guys destroyed each other. Loved everything we did afterwards, where Drew just couldn't move. Punk had to get some oxygen. He had to fall down, where it really did feel like Punk didn't necessarily win, but he survived. And now give him the whole month off just to really, really sell it, to see where it's going to go. But, I mean, WWE's really hot right now. I mean, we're getting a bunch of people back. Punk back at full strength. Drew never lost a step. Rollins is now back. We got a bunch of great storylines going through, especially with how they're all intertwined. So maybe they don't want to take the time off so that they don't lose the shuffle, which they won't. I mean, they're really big stars. But yeah, now we move into the next match. Nia Jax versus Bayley. Whatever came after this immediately was going to suffer. Now, out of all the five, do I think this was maybe the weakest of them? Sure, but I still think the match was good. Again, I don't know when I plan on rewatching this, but when I rewatch it, I think I'm going to go by my order and just see how these matches go. Because, again, after everything Drew and Punk did, no matter what punch Nia and Bayley threw, there were a couple of good spots. Don't get me wrong. I like the Nia Hurricanrana spot. I liked what was Bayley's move? I like something that Bayley did that I cannot remember off the top of my head. But there were some good spots in this match. It's just none of them were going to have the same impact as what Drew and Punk did. So therefore, I think the match was going to suffer regardless. And maybe it went on a little too long. I think, just as the booker, I would have been like, look, let's be honest here. This is a filler match. This is a match that is to help pinpoint a story later on. Do we really need 10 to 15 minutes? No, we could probably go 5 and still hit all the story beats, because really this match was a build until Tiffany Stratton's music hit. And it was like that for a lot of the matches here, in all honesty. hell 3 out of the 5. It was just they built it until someone ran in. And quite frankly, the 4 after the Hell in a Cell all were built that way, in all honesty. That, okay, we're going to sit here, we're going to have some spots, but once Tiffany music hits, it's okay, now we can lock in and get really interested in. Boop. Okay, look, there's a mishandling there, misunderstanding. Now it looks like, again, we may be missing the peak, but I do think Tiffany is cashing in at Survivor Series now. I don't think they're due the female cash-in at Crown Jewel. But I do not know how much longer we can progress this, because I really do think, because the crowd really wanted it, I really wanted it, I'm sure you really wanted it. It's just, can we really prolong this out for 8 more weeks? That remains to be seen, but I am very interested in this storyline, because now I am starting to be more invested in the WWE Women's title than I am the Women's World title. But before we get into the Women's World title, let's get into Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Again, I think, look, the build was very disappointing, right? And I don't think this is the end for them. I think this is part 1 of 3. This will be the new trilogy storyline. Maybe we do round 2 like Crown Jewel. But I do know we'll probably get another match between them at Survivor Series. And, you know, the match was fine overall. But again, it was one of those matches where I was just going, okay, everything before is filler, because I got to wait for JD McDonagh to come up, and maybe Dominic and Carlito, they got to arrive, and sure enough, they do. I do think Finn Balor needed the win, though. I don't think Damian necessarily needed it, especially if you were going to do the running angle. I kind of like this whole storyline of Damian, everything that you used to do is now coming back to bite you. And the fact that he's able to overcome it, which, look, Damian Priest is one badass character. To me, right now, he is the running for most improved superstar of 2024. Because, again, he has just elevated to a whole other level. It really felt like he was Superman at this point. Like, I really do think, you know, to make Judgment Day continue to be a threat, and again, for Finn Balor to be a threat, he needs wins. And they need wins, especially when the number of games gets to them. Because once they came out and, you know, they started to overwhelm Damian, and he's able to push him out, and Finn Balor is able to hit these 2 stomp coup de grace, and Damian was still able to just pop back up like a daisy and hit the South of Heaven chokeslam for the 1, 2, 3. It kind of irked me. And I love Damian Priest. Like I said, most improved to 2024 so far. I think the character is badass. I think he's super comfortable. He deserves the spotlight that he is currently in. However, give Finn Balor some love too, because, I mean, Finn Balor is great. It's just this Judgment Day angle, to me, it has really deteriorated. Pash Bash in Berlin. So overall, the match was good. I just wasn't a huge fan of the finish, and I do think the wrong man won for match 1. But again, this isn't going to be the first fight of them. I think they're going to have multiple throughout the show, throughout the next 3 months. But now it just remains to be seen on who wins these next one. I really hope Damian doesn't go 3-0, because I can't see them doing Finn Balor like that. Then after this, I do believe we have the announcement. Now, could this announcement been an email? Yes. Could this announcement been on Raw? Absolutely. I think, if anything, this should have been on Raw. Could this have been announced on the pre-show? Sure. However, business is business, and I'm pretty sure Saudi Arabia said, hey, we want this announcement on the PLE. And since, you know, Saudi pays WWE, what, like, billions of dollars for them to have their shows there, WWE ain't gonna say no to that. So Triple H comes out, reveals this big belt. Everyone's saying it's the ugliest belt. I didn't mind it. I kind of like how the belt looked. And that there's going to be where the WWE champion and the world champions for both the men and the women are going to face each other to be the Crown Jewel champion. I don't hate it. I just wish there was more than just the world champions. Like, why can't the tag teams be in it? Because, you know, sure. And why not the mid-cards? Like, maybe we do that on the SmackDown before. Well, we have the tag team champions have some warfare, and we have the United States Intercontinental Champion fight and some warfare too. I'm kind of upset that wasn't a question at the press conference. That like, hey, so it's cool that, you know, the world champions are going to fight each other, but what about, you know, the mid cards and the tag teams? Can they have some warfare? Because, you know, technically it's the WWE Tag Team Champions and the World Tag Team Champions. Kind of makes sense if you're going to have the women's world champion and the women's WWE champion and the men's WWE champion and the women's world champion fighting each other. Forget the tag teams. They have the same titles. Let's do it. But they announced it. The crowd didn't really care because it's a Saudi show, which, more power to them. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Gunther versus Cody, because obviously that's going to be the match. And then, of course, it would be Liv versus Nia, which I'm not very much invested in. Maybe Nia needs to lose the belt before then. Maybe Tiffany cashes in on a SmackDown. We do Tiffany versus Liv at Crown Jewel. I do not see Liv Morgan losing that title. And then Gunther coming out saying, "Hook, I look forward to you passing me this belt as well." I don't know if I would necessarily want it to be a belt. Like I said, I don't mind the design. A lot of people think it's the ugliest looking belt ever. I don't think that. 24/7 title says hello. But I think it should have been a trophy. It's just a trophy they get to them, and it's just another accolade. But yeah, Gunther coming out, he goes, "All right, so Bill Goldberg is here, and just want to get some things clarified. You are not my favorite wrestler of all time. I was just busting balls with Brett." And then he just keeps ramming into him, and then he's going, "Look, Gage, for your hope, I really hope Bill is a better father than he is wrestler." And then Bill Goldberg gets up, and here they go. They're about to scrap up. And I'm going to say something that is probably not popular. I'm into it. I kind of want it. I want Goldberg versus Gunther. Let's have that at Survivor Series. And we could do Punk versus Gunther as Saturday night's main event. To me, it's fine. Let's do it. Have Gunther, just cool his head down a little bit. We get past Crown Jewel, and then we move on. And then we get back into, them actually defending their titles on PLEs. And, yeah, like I said, I'm really into it. I really love to lie. Gunther's such a good troll. He's so good at it. When he goes, "Hey, I got 3 minutes for you," and when they cut back to Bill, he had a little bit of a smirk too. He was like, "Okay, that was pretty good. Like, that's pretty funny." So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the match with Sami Zayn. Gunther's going to retain. I'm all for it. Now, can you imagine? Now, just hear me out. If it is going to be Sami Zayn winning on Monday, and it's Goldberg that cost Gunther the title, oh man, do it. I preferably want Gunther versus Cody, but for the online reaction alone, do it. Have Sami win with the help of Bill Goldberg. That would be so freaking funny to me, because man, the outline, the Roar outline would be so funny. But yeah, we'll move on from that. I think the segment was fine for what it was. Again, could have been an email, could have been on the pre-show, could have been on Raw, absolutely. But business has to be business, and I think they did pretty all right for it being on the PLE. Now, Rhea versus Liv. I've enjoyed the feud for the most part. Now, I do think it has lost its legs. For God's sakes, even during the press conference, I was just like, "Liv, shut up about the revenge tour. Yeah, you did it. It's over." Now, that's just good heel heat, right? She wants me to boo her as a fan. And so, therefore, I will probably start booing her as a fan, because it is really annoying. And I'm just ready for them to go to that second gear. And kind of like this match, I just felt like it never got to second gear. Now, obviously, the whole build-up was going to be around Dominic and this shark cage, and what is going to be the outcome of that. Is he going to break out? How is he going to do it? What they did, I really do think after the Hell in a Cell, the two biggest pops of the night was Dominic almost dying, and then The Rock showing up. When he opened the cage and then he fell, I legit was really scared. I was really, really scared. Oh my God, they messed up, because the way he fell, and then that could have gone wrong in so many different ways. I'm glad it went well. It was a good visual, but we'll get straight to the end, because that's really what it's all about, right? Raquel Rodriguez shows up and helps Rhea. Oh, not helps Rhea, but takes Rhea out and helps Liv win. Liv wins by DQ. Ref obviously saw everything. It was a little bit of a botch. I think Raquel came out a little bit too early. It is what it is. It is what it is. And like I said, I just think this is a case of a storyline that probably has lost its way. They just need to be separated from each other. Rhea and Raquel can go at it for a little bit, so that Rhea is still kind of involved in the Judgment Day, but kind of not. And then Liv can face someone else. Now, the only thing is, after Rhea and Raquel, because I do think Raquel is a bigger star than I think online gives her credit for, who is left? Becky's gone. Like, do we bring some legends out? Like, do we bring a Tiffany Stratus? Can we really build someone up? I know there's Lyra, but Lyra's pretty busy with the Pure Fusion Collective. So it'll be interesting to see where we go moving forward through here. I do think Lyra is the next one up, but that just doesn't, that doesn't excite me as much, and especially since Liv is definitely going to be holding on to the title for a little bit too. And also it just puts a real damper on everything with Crown Jewel kind of being a filler PLE now, right? Because, the WWE title won't be defended, even though there are some big time stories that we can go with. SmackDown has become very, very interesting now that KO has turned heel. We have to get to that match at some point. You gotta think Randy is probably thinking like Kevin now that Roman and Cody shook hands. Cody giving Roman a salute. All these different things. We'll get more into that later, but there's a lot of storylines there. There's a lot of storylines on Raw. There's Goldberg. There's Punk. There's a bunch of these different contenders for the World Heavyweight title. For the women, after Rhea, again, we got to build some people up. Lyra is the biggest threat, but we could build some other people up as well. I swear to God, if we do Natalia. And then on the women, there's Naomi, there's Bianca, there's Jake. Sure, Bianca and Jay need to focus on the tag team scene, but I'm just saying there's bigger stars on the SmackDown scene, and that is very, very interesting. Now, all that is just going to be paused to make sure that we do these champion versus champions match. One seems very intriguing. If it stays that way, we'll see what happens on Monday. But yeah, it just really feels like Crown Jewel is going to be a filler, and now what is left for Liv now that these are going to be separated? And when they do come back together, let's get rid of Dom. Like, sure, Dom can stay in the corner, but I do not want the story to be focused on Dom anymore. I don't want the story to be focused on this revenge tour anymore. Liv, you did it. You completed the revenge tour. Awesome. Rhea, you lost Dom. You got your revenge. Sure, maybe we need the spot where you give Dom a riptide, and then you can officially move on. Sure, by all means. But when the next time Liv and Rhea scrap up and they're going to build up their storyline, I need it to be about the title. I just need to be about who is the better woman, and really make Liv more of a threat. But like, no, she can win. She can do this. And I do like how Raquel is now going to be kind of her side piece as well, too, within the Judgment Day. So that way the women can actually fight back a little bit. Now, sure, the women can beat up Dom, but Dom can't beat them up because, that's just the way things are. Raquel can. So, if they come after Raquel can punch them back. So, it just makes it more even. And it does make Liv more of a threat. But yeah, now we'll move into the main event, the tag team match, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, Rhodey, if you will, versus the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu. Match was too long. I think the selling was way overdone, especially on Cody's part. It really reminded me of Prime Cena, of every time they did a move, Cody would take forever to get to a spot, and it was just really, really drawn out to me personally. I get it. You were building up to the hot tag for Roman Reigns, his first big spurge since coming back. It's been, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months since he's been in the ring. Absolutely. I understand you want to build that up and make it a really, really big moment. And when it was, it did. The crowd popped. Absolutely. It popped bigger than when they had their really over-dramatic entrances. But man, I just really wish, the selling was brought down to the minimum. But again, this was a case of a match where I was just sitting there going, well, until the ref gets bumped, or when Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa come on out, I know it's not about to end. Sure enough, they do. I'm thinking, okay, will Kevin and Randy come out? They do not. They still hold on. I like the spot with Cody jumping onto the table with Jacob to really take him down. And I like that Roman got the pin. Because now, since Solo has the Ulafala, now at Crown Jewel, because, we still got to build up 5 matches, right? We already got 2. Now we can do tribal combat. Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the title of Tribal Chief. And then we can get into the Bloodline Civil War, which I assume will be Roman, Jimmy, because Jimmy returned on this. I'm really glad he got a good reaction as well. Jay, Sammy, and Cody versus the new Bloodline with The Rock, because after that, they jump him again. Again, we already had the moment between Jimmy and Roman. and then The Rock comes out, goes 1, 2, 3, I guess just to play his music, or maybe he says, I see 3 victims, or whatever. I see a bunch of theories on about this 1, 2, 3. It really was probably just for them to play his music, and we're just being really, really over analyzing everything, which is what us wrestling fans do. And then he rolls out. So I think we are officially in full-on Mania season. Again, this match sets up so many more stories. Roman's obviously got to continue on with the bloodline. Cody's now got to focus on Gunther or Sammy, but he also has Kevin in the back, and maybe Orton's waiting in the rings too. I mean, we just built up at least 3 months worth of story up until we get to until Mania season. Maybe we do the WWE title defended inside the Elimination Chamber this year, especially with the rumor that it will be in the United Kingdom. But yeah, overall, I like the show. I just really think it really hurt by the structure of it. Hell in a Cell should have been the main event. If The Rock doesn't say, hey, I'm going to arrive, I think it does. I do think maybe the tag team match is the opener, and then maybe we have some storylines being built out throughout. Maybe Kevin's backstage, and then we do it there instead of, which I do think it was better for them to do it after the show, and Kevin's like hitting him, and fan footage only caught it, which again brings me back to, I really hope we get to Friday and he plays that Deadpool card like, that didn't happen. It was on air. We all know we don't talk to each other until the actual show. Come on now. Like, it would just be really, really funny, but I don't think it's going to be that way. I think he is back to that prize fighter, that heel motive. It's going to be interesting to see whenever Sammy and Jay do come to SmackDown and they have to deal with the old Kevin Owens as opposed to the new one that has been built up. But yeah, I think Bad Blood did a great job setting up for television for the next few months with all the storylines that we have built up. And I do think the matches were good. It just suffered from the match order. Which probably what Drew and Punk did. They were probably pissed off that their main event spot got moved away, and they were like, okay, we're gonna make it impossible for everyone else. That's exactly what we're gonna do, and that they did. But yeah, leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts on Bad Blood. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it, guys. Leave a like for that, and of course hit that subscribe button as we have a lot more content heading your way. We will be doing Raw and SmackDown, and of course Crown Jewel, everything up to it. Gonna probably start a new show pretty soon, so keep a lookout for that as well. And until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.